What's going on, everybody? Billy Coles here, Smith Mountain Lake Fishing, sitting in the driveway. Just wrapped up a guide trip. It is early March. It is crazy ahead. Just left, it's the day before a BFL, so just left out on the water, just kind of looking around. I am not fishing it, but it is going to set up to be a really, really good event. There are beds, which is insane. I've seen 2 beds so far with bass really, really close by. The beds look like they were just made last night or the night before. Lot of fish up shallow swimming around, and I want to talk about the top 5 baits that I throw in March at Smith Mountain. Some of these are textbooks, some of these are a little bit kind of sneaky, or things that I do that I like doing, being from Minnesota. So I hope you guys tinker with those. But as far as Smith Mountain and how it's setting up is, I think we are going to end up having a pretty early spawn here. We have 15 days of pretty warm temperatures, high 60s, low 70s. The nightly lows are only in the like mid 40s, high 40s, not very windy, and that's gonna set up to have an early spawn. So let's cross our fingers that we don't have any crazy cold snaps that would affect killing the fry, and that we have a good hatch this year. But I do think at Smith Mountain we are gonna have an early spawn this year. So talking about these baits, let's talk about everyone's favorite way most likely to fish in the springtime, including myself, and that is power fishing. I love power fishing. I love power fishing on Smith Mountain because there's so many big fish, and it's a great way to catch your biggest fish of the year, a huge bag if you get a little bit of wind, and it's cool to pull fish out from the structure with some of these baits. So first and foremost, this is my favorite way to fish, and that is throwing a crankbait. So what I have here is the Megabass Sonic side. This is a square bill, but what's unique about this square bill is it's somewhat oversized than other square bills, and this thing actually dives super deep. I can get this thing on 10-pound line, 8-pound line, 10 feet or deeper. It's a great little square bill. It's something different that not a lot of people are going to end up throwing. Obviously, Megabass has crazy cool color schemes, but Sonic side, you know, we throw a lot of warts, rock crawlers, kind of those hunting action types of baits. Coming into high 50s, low 60s, I like going back to something like a square bill. I can bounce this thing off wood, really, really good deflection off of dock posts, off of rock and stuff like that. So throwing it on a Dobyns Champion 705 CB glass. I've talked about this rod many times before. Shimano DC and 10-pound Sunline on this cranking rod. This is just the perfect setup for cranking anything like 15 feet or lower. So check out that crankbait. That's an awesome new addition to what you can do in that springtime. Next one is a super favorite of mine, and that is a chatterbait, where I might be a little bit more of a variation than some here. Is I'm actually throwing a Magnum Chatterbait. So Smith Mountain has a lot of big bait in it, gizzard shad, bluebacks, some of our thread fins even get pretty big, so I like upsizing in the spring to something a little bit bigger. The vibration that the Magnum puts off is insane compared to just a regular jackhammer, so upsizing that a little bit I think does get me some of the bigger bites when I do get around fish. And I'm fishing this around everything: rock piles, docks, laydowns, flats, bait fish. Like I'm definitely getting this thing around fish more than just kind of casting down the bank. So I am throwing this on a Champion 735 CB glass. Again, sticking with that glass, that's what I prefer. Here's a Curado DC again, and this is gonna be 16-pound Sunline Sniper. This rod has a lot of play in the tip, and that's what you want on your chatterbait rod, so that you can feel when that fish hits it from behind and stops the vibration of the jig for you to do a sweep set. So the chatterbait doesn't get utilized a ton at Smith Mountain. This is the time of year when I am going to have it in my hand a good amount. It's going to be on the deck for probably the next 30 days. So next one, this should not be a surprise for anyone. If anyone thinks this is sneaky, everybody is throwing it. It catches a ton of fish at Smith Mountain. It catches a ton of fish everywhere, but specifically at Smith Mountain, it shines, and that is a Magdraft. So this is a Megabass 6-inch Magdraft. This is one of their new colors, Borealis Shad. It's got a little bit of a purple kind of hue to it, green back, which is going to resemble kind of what like a blueback is going to look like. This bait is just crazy special in the springtime. The reason the Magdraft, in my opinion, is the best springtime swim bait is because of how slow you have to reel this thing in. It's a tight wobble. It's almost got like a shad wrap shimmy to it. You have to reel it in slow, otherwise it's gonna roll out. It's designed to do that. And that is because we want these fish to be able to lackadaisically come over and decide if they want to crush it, which in most cases they do. The one modification, or two modifications, I guess, that I will tell you guys that I do is I do take some nail weights as we progress into the spring to be able to reel it a little bit faster as the water warms up into those mid 50s and high 50s. So this is just 2 Dobyns nail weights that are broken off in here. And then the last thing I do when I'm skipping this around structure is, instead of having that hook just rely on the magnet, is I stick, if you guys can see, I stick a toothpick where that hook is. That allows that hook to stay in this bait when I'm skipping it around. When you get the hook set and you snap the rod, you break the toothpick and you get a hook into the fish. So 6-inch Magdraft, for anybody that wants to do it and kind of has the mental fortitude to do it, you can get plenty of bites on an 8-inch Magdraft out here. You have to have a specific rod for it. It does take a lot of mind power to chuck something that big around, but I have caught 2.5 pounders on an 8-inch Magdraft, and I have caught 8 pounders on an 8-inch Magdraft. It's really weather dependent, but this is the time of year where if you want to try to get yourself a big fish, don't go to the 6-inch, go to the 8-inch, force yourself to throw it, and see what kind of fish you pull off of docks and structures and stuff like that, and you'll see the caliber of fish change a lot. So that is the power fishing stuff. Again, somewhat straightforward, but hopefully that kind of helps you guys with where my mind is how I want something fast, I want something that can deflect, and I want something that's kind of subtle. So onto the finesse side, this is also one of my favorite ways to fish. This is a drop shot. For anybody that fishes Smith Mountain a lot, this is what is going to catch you the majority of fish at this lake, ranging from 14 inches to 6-7 pounds. I've caught giants on a drop shot. It just works here. We have so much brush, so much structure, and these fish get so many different variations of the drop shot that I just don't think they're ever gonna get sick of this bait here. So I've got it on a 702 SF Champion. This is 10-pound braid to a 7-pound leader. Obviously, this is a Missile Baits magic worm, robo worm. Something of this style of plastic is really all you need. And then just a rebarb hook with a little cylinder weight. So this is one that you should have in the boat. If you feel like you're just a power fisherman by heart and you don't want to do anything like this, you are missing out at Smith Mountain with what you can catch numbers and size with this. So put that in the boat. That is a no-brainer for the springtime, and pretty much from here on out I will have a drop shot on for guide trips. So this last one is gonna be a little bit more, I won't say sneaky, because everybody knows that you can catch them like this, but a jig bite is great in the spring, but you need to be careful with size, matching the hatch, presenting something a little bit different. So I like to go the opposite side of the spectrum, and that is a Missile Baits micro football jig. So you guys can see just in my hand, hopefully, this is just a very small little morsel for fish to pick up. And the reason that I like something of this size, and I have it on a spinning rod, is I can skip this thing a mile under docks. I can let this thing basically just sit at a dock post. It's not gonna be that big bulky jig that, if there's kind of a finicky, lazy fish down there that doesn't want a meal that big, they're gonna really like something this size. And it does catch big ones. Like I just went out 3 hours ago and had 3 big bites on a micro jig. So presenting something a little bit different than what everybody else is throwing is a good idea in the spring, because we have tournaments and tourist pressure coming. So yeah, just find something unique to you guys that you're comfortable with. It can be a net, it can be something of the smaller size, but all this is Missile Baits micro football jig. That's a baby D-bomb that we just kind of cut down for the legs. I am throwing this on a Dobyns Xtasy series. This is a 722 SF. This is the highest line from Dobyns, super sensitive rod. And I've got it on a Stradic Shimano 10-pound braid again to a 7-pound leader. So very finesse fishing, very specific on what I like to do and what I like to present. So hopefully this helps you guys out with March fishing. Like I said, there's fish everywhere. There's fish in a foot of water. There's fish in 30 feet of water. You can still go Damiki. You can go throw a jig under a dock. It's pretty crazy what we're about to experience here in the next 15 days. So hopefully this helps you guys out. Links down below for all of the baits if you want to book a trip with me, smithmountainlakefishing.com, and hopefully this helps you guys out and pick up some of these baits, and I'll see you out on the water. Thanks.